so many times we see these companies make decisions that impact them maybe years from now, and of course not always right away, which is always something that I find a little bit of an enigma. But it's one of the things that I guess these million, billion, trillion dollar companies have to do to stay ahead of the game. And now it looks like Microsoft made some of these moves well ahead of what Sony was doing, and it's going to pay off. And it looks like it has actually paid off for them much more than what we even could have imagined. And I think that that really is something that I guess you can be thankful for Phil Spencer. I mean, I'm not the hugest Phil Spencer fan. I mean, I think he's done a good job, but I also think that at the same time, he tends to focus a little bit too much on the other things outside of the console, and that's, I think, the discontention that I have with him. Not that I care about those other things, but I always feel like Xbox should always be looked at as, okay, well, it's a console first and foremost, right? Like, you can have these other options, but it's the console first and foremost. So I think that's the part of contention that I probably have most with Phil. Sometimes it seems like they'll do things that are specifically just for PC or just for cloud or whatever, and those things aren't my bag, and it doesn't seem like those are a lot of people's bag. Like Xbox seems like it's always been a console, and it's will always be hopefully a console, assuming that it continues to sell well the way that it has been. I think that would be a very smart idea. Now, when it comes down to some of these other things, I think that obviously Sony has had a bit of a leg up on some areas. Obviously, they had more games ready for launch. Microsoft had to kind of delay Halo, while Sony had quite a few games ready to go. And this year, even though there was delays on both sides, it looks like Sony is ready to go with a ton of great games and great content. With that being said, man, this is going to be a good video, because what Microsoft just announced really does give them a leg up on the PlayStation 5. It's going to be a video you don't want to miss. Hey there everyone, I'm the Crapgamer, and of course this is Crapgamer Reviews, your home for gaming news, opinions, reviews, and much more. You'll probably notice some changes around here, and hopefully that doesn't stop you from giving us a like, and possibly maybe even consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Thank you so much for choosing to spend some of your free time with me today. It really does mean a lot. I really think the world of you guys. You are simply amazing, and thank you. Now, I did a video, and obviously it's pretty clear that Sony is still making PS4 consoles, and they're going to continue to make PS4 consoles throughout this year, over 1 million or more, depending on some of the demand. And I get that some of these games, obviously, or some of these territories still will buy an Xbox or a Xbox Series or an Xbox One S or whatever, if that were possible. I mean, there might be some left in stock, but that's what this is about. Because when we look at this, all Xbox One consoles have been officially discontinued in 2020. Microsoft confirmed that. All Xbox One consoles have been discontinued last year, according to Microsoft Today. In a statement, Senior Director of Xbox Console Products Cindy Walker confirmed that production of previous-gen consoles has stopped by the end of 2020, so as to allow Microsoft to fully focus on the production of the Xbox Series X and S. To focus on the production of the X and S, we stopped production of all Xbox One consoles by the end of 2020. Now, today's confirmation highlights how Microsoft and Sony are employing different strategies regarding their previous generation hardware and how to meet the increased demand for generational hardware. While Microsoft has left behind its Xbox One family of consoles, Sony is apparently continuing to make PlayStation 4 consoles throughout the year, as revealed in a recent report from Bloomberg. It's quite interesting to note how Sony started the generation by saying that they believe in console generation, but they are actually the ones not ready to leave their old generation behind. While Sony never officially announced when it would stop making the PS4, it had previously planned to discontinue assembly by the end of 2021, they said, asking not to be named and have their plans be public. Now, the original Xbox One launched back in November of 2013, with the console line getting expanded with the Xbox One S and the Xbox One X, which have been for some time the most powerful console available on the market with true 4K gaming. So they did have that, but the interesting thing here is, like I said, two different strategies by these companies, and like, is there one that's right? Is there one that's wrong? It's really hard to say, right? Like, we have never been in this kind of situation where we had to deal with pandemic, and hopefully that goes into an endemic or whatever, so that everybody can kind of, just kind of chill and go back to all their lives a little bit. I mean, living in Florida, it's a little bit easier for me to say because nothing really changed. We haven't had any kind of restrictions in forever, and they were pretty mild when we did have them. But at the end of the day, I think the fact that a lot of studios had to go about things a little bit differently, and when we look at not only just the studios but the games that had to be pushed back and things like that, I think we have to take all that into account going forward. And now it is kind of funny to me, and just maybe a bit ironic, that even I gave Microsoft a ton of crap for oh, we're gonna support the Xbox One for a couple of years, right? And honestly, thanks to a lot of the games that were delayed, that it really ended up not being much, in terms of what they were able to support. It's like Halo and Forza, yeah, those are cross-gen, but pretty much that was it if you think about it. I mean, from the first party as exclusives, and then we look at it going forward, Redfall, if Forza Motorsport comes out this year, and then of course if Starfield comes out, those are all current gen only, so you're not going to be able to play those on an old school Xbox. So yeah, listen, it's really funny to see these kind of things come out. And then of course you had Jim Ryan's blunder with the whole situation where he said that they believe in generations, and obviously people are going to feel a little bit differently about different aspects of that. Was it a lie? What does it mean? I mean, I think that's the things you have to look at it too before. And yes, Sony has traditionally supported their old consoles for a long time, but at the same time, this is the longest that they've actually gone into supporting it with lots of software, right? Like over a year into the life cycle. Now I do realize that God of War 2 was a different situation, and that came out on the PS2 well after the PS3 came out. But I think that was an abnormality. When we look at the PS3 and PS4, the PS4 games weren't cross-gen. Infamous wasn't. Well, that wasn't. It was a launch year game, I guess. But Infamous wasn't on the PS3. Infamous Second Son, excuse me. And the PS3 had games there at the end that were exclusive. And then the PS4 launched, and there wasn't a bunch of cross-gen stuff. Knack wasn't on the PS3. Order 1886 wasn't on PS3. Like, they built things specifically for the new hardware, and I think things work out the best. Listen, I'm not saying that the I'm not saying that the Xbox or the PlayStation don't have some good looking games, because they do. I'm just saying that we're caught up in this kind of weird situation where at the end of the day, this cross-gen stuff is really kind of affecting what we paid for, because we're already a year plus into the generation, and we're not getting the most of what we can get. I can't imagine the type of stuff we're going to get a year from now. It's going to be insane. But what do you guys think about this? Do you think that it's a stark difference between what Microsoft and Sony are doing? Are they in different kind of aspects? I'm very curious to hear what everybody thinks. I think it's a very big gamble for Microsoft to do that, but it's paying off, because clearly the Series S is making up a lot of the slack, since it was the same price as the One S anyway. So huge stuff there. Rack 'em up, fact 'em up, Crap Gamer 'em up. Thanks for watching. Crap Gamer out.